So chapter 980 is out, and to me it was yet another brilliant chapter. It was totally action-packed and we had some very interesting and important moments included, specifically about two certain supernovas. Now this is not going to be a typical review and more like a discussion or analysis and explanation on one big aspect of this chapter that has riled up the community as a whole. I will also be talking about how Apoo really did it and why couldn't Luffy predict it even though he has future sight. So please do watch from the beginning to the very end to understand every aspect of it. I will also be highlighting some problems of the community regarding these types of simple topics, not targeted to every people, but to those who are creating problems in the community. But before that, please do subscribe and hit that like button if you agree, and also turn on the all notification to always get notified of my latest videos. So the whole rant from the people starts from the infamous encounter between the three supernovas, Apoo, Luffy and Zoro, where Apoo gets the better of those two in an instant, which is honestly not that big of a deal in my opinion. Because we know that matchup matters in One Piece, and the perfect example you can draw for it is NL vs Luffy. As most of we will agree that the Goro Goro no Mi is probably the strongest devil fruit in One Piece, because of how much of prowess and unbelievable power it offers. Just having the devil fruit will make you very dangerous and capable individual. But Luffy was the most perfect counter to the ability because he is rubber. And as we know that rubber can't conduct electricity, so he had a very easy time dealing with him. But alongside the matchups, in case with Apoo, Luffy and Zoro, it was more of catching them off guard and also the disadvantage they carried with them as they had complete lack of knowledge of Apoo's powers and abilities whatsoever. So again, Luffy and Zoro getting hit was completely normal to me. But as you all know that One Piece community is not like that, because they always have their own agendas running into them, which in return triggers their disbelief towards Oda when he presents something big and important. And this is not just one time happening moment. It always flows on unnecessarily like a never-ending tunnel. Now I'm definitely not blaming everyone for this because I know lots of readers are out there who are formal and do not conduct these kind of activities. And I'm also not saying that you shouldn't power scale or build different headcanons in general because honestly it's very fun to do it. But we always should remember that we shouldn't cross the line while doing so. Because the power levels are so vague in One Piece that for like 90% we have to apply our headcanon. And again I will say, it is not wrong to do that at all. But we need to also always stay mature and sensible if we are wrong. Because also like 90% of our headcanons is also not deliberately rightful, as we have not accessed direct information from Oda himself. So please accept and respect the fact that Oda presents to us. And do not act stupid and disrespect the writer or some of the people in the community just because your perception was wrong on that regard. And I have always seen in YouTube comments, Discords, Twitter that if anything big happens to someone in One Piece, for like even a brief moment, people become enraged and talk bad about the series itself because of one specific moment which actually isn't even wrong at first place. And we'll start the topic of dropping the series, which is so immature and stupid. The next big problem that I want to highlight of the community is the unnecessary and unwanted slanders. Like if something even smart happens to a certain character, the community starts to rile up unnecessarily and the unwanted debate starts to flow like rivers everywhere. Anyways, these were the main problems I wanted to highlight about the community. But let's get back to the Apoo situation and explain why it is not a controversial situation whatsoever. First, let's talk about devil fruits and its versatility. We all know that devil fruits and its abilities matter, especially if they possess unique and special traits that are crucial in battles. Now yeah, Haki is undoubtedly the most important power, but matchups also change significantly because of devil fruits. Like I gave a perfect example beforehand, NL vs Luffy. The other ones you can highlight to further solidify this fact is Karakuri vs Luffy, Luffy vs Cracker, Luffy vs Doflamingo, Akainu vs Ace, Mihawk vs Zozu, and so on and so forth. Second, having the disadvantage of being unknown of someone's abilities and getting caught off guard completely. And this is very important in any battle for one to have the deciding factor. Mainly, let's start with catching someone off guard, and again as I just said in One Piece, this is clear like day and night. For instance is Aokiji vs Marco and Zozu. When Aokiji was focused on Luffy, Marco snuck up on him and sent him flying. Similar with Zozu. The next one, Whitebeard vs Akainu. Just one blow from Whitebeard almost became the deciding factor of that confrontation as Akainu was almost thrown into the sea by Whitebeard's attack. The other small instance is when Luffy caught Katakuri off guard. Basically, Luffy saw Karakuri eating donuts, which in return made Karakuri go insane, and that was the point when Luffy was comfortably able to land a normal kick to Karakuri, which resulted in him getting hurt. And finally, Luffy vs Kaido. Because Kaido was off guard, Luffy with just Gear 3 was able to land a direct hit on Kaido, which resulted in him getting slammed to the ground from the sky. So yeah, these aspects have been very much relevant throughout the story from time to time. Now with everything being cleared up to this point, let's get into the Apoo, Luffy and Zoro situation more further. First of all, Apoo was the first one to recognize Luffy and Zoro. Also was the first and only one to initiate and activate his abilities to fully attack and defeat Luffy and Zoro. He basically started with his rhythm, and at that point everything was perfectly set up for him because he already had the time to activate it. Finally, the only thing that remained was to proceed the attack, and that was it. Luffy got hit first and Zoro got sliced second, basically meaning the attack was performed in a sequence. And I will be providing you an example why that happens to be the case. Back in Sabaody, when Apoo initiated his attack towards Kizaru, the first thing that happened was Kizaru's arm was sliced off from his body, and for the second part, he was blown away from an effective explosion which looked like to be an inside-out attack, which I will be explaining little later. Now with Luffy and Zoro, Apoo performed 3 varieties of attacks, and you can probably say that it is the improved version from his attack to Kizaru, because basically it has been 2 years since he showed it against him. And I think we will all agree that all of the supernovas have got significantly stronger than pre-time skip, as they all are in the new world where all of them are infiltrating Yonko territories, basically for the reason to assassinate their targeted Yonko. Also, I forgot to say it before, that his attacks are sound based, meaning it travels with the speed of sound, which is relatively very quick to a normal person. In addition to it, sounds can travel through any medium like gases, liquids or solid, and can only be felt by the vibrations produced by it. Moreover, Apoo's devil fruit is still shrouded by mysteries, and the mechanism of how it really works is very uniquely iterated, simply meaning we do not actually know how it really works. So that was the reason Apoo was able to do so much to Luffy and Zoro with his sequences of attacks. To the next instance that people are really mad about is Luffy passing out for few seconds. Here I will not say anything because after like 2 panels, he's perfectly fine and ready to fight. And it was not like Luffy was set and ready for all of Apoo's unpredictable attacks. He was basically defenseless with no sign of haki or any sort of protection from it. That was purely a clean point-blank explosion on Luffy. This similar looking situation happened to Luffy back in Punk Hazard, also where Luffy passed out by Caesar, as he didn't know what Caesar was capable of. Like Luffy literally completely passed out and was captured afterwards. So yeah, if you let your guard down completely, then you are bound to get into a lot of troubles. And on the note of catching someone off guard, Kid did the same to Apoo. He rushed towards where that trader was, and because of that, Apoo was really surprised. And by the moment he could even react, Kid had already used his named attack, Punk Gepshin, and sobbed his face in the ground. Now the last straw people are drawing to be disappointed is from what Zoro said. Basically in the last panel where the disguises wear off, Luffy says that we are breaking through, so I'm ditching this costume. And Zoro replying to that says, yeah, it's hard to move in anyway, which is clearly a remark towards the Beast Pirate's outfit about it being difficult to move around wearing it. And yeah, I know it's according to the scans, so we have to wait for the official to drop to confirm the conversation. But it shouldn't be a big difference, honestly. And oh, I almost forgot to address people's problem with future sight inconsistency. And here I just want to say 2 things. First, this might be simply because of the plot conveniences. Second, it might be because of how does Luffy really incorporate his future sight. Or does future sight get affected from sound-based attacks? Now this completely falls under the realm of headcanon, so I will not delve into it because it has no basis to support it. But personally, my view on this one is that it is an inside-out based explosion, because if you see the both times he uses it, that is against Kizaru and Luffy, it seems to explode from inside out of the body. And if this is the scenario, then future sight will be of no help, because even if you predict it, the fact that it is an inside-out explosion means you can't really dodge it. I will also explain why it can be an inside-out explosion. So let's start. As I previously said, that sound waves can actually travel through all of the 3 mediums, that is solid, liquid and gas. Therefore meaning it can travel through human bodies or simply can bypass through us. So for Apoo to make the explosion inside out is really easy, Because if he sends sound waves, then he can comfortably permeate it inside our bodies. Now it is headcanon, but I am doing it in terms of solid basis, like by using how sound actually works. At last, I just want to present my opinion about how I really felt about Apoo, Luffy and Zoro situation in the context of the story. So here we go. I think it was a very fair play from Oda to hype up the rest of the supernovas and keep them relevant in the story. I agree they are all not on the same level, but we cannot deny that all of them are the formation that makes the worst generation. Simply meaning they all stand at the pinnacle of this very generation. So it was a very good move to play because Apoo has not been that much relevant post-time skip like the rest of the supernovas. That is why it was also necessary to take this step to make him a standout figure. And yeah, it also doesn't change anything in terms of his portrayal and how strong he is. Because again, one surprise attack doesn't make any difference in terms of power levels whatsoever. And I even gave so many examples about it above. And yep, that was it for this video guys. Just wanted to do a thorough dive into this topic because this toxicity is not good for the community at all. And even it sets a poor benchmark for the new readers of the series. Plus do remember that Oda has been always writing his story, not our versions of headcanon. So please do not distort from his storytelling. You can absolutely have your opinions and headcanon, but if it comes out to be wrong, then do accept it. All in all, as I said at the beginning, that I really liked the chapter and how Oda made the dynamic between these four supernovas. I'm also very happy that Kid is finally getting some shine, and I can't wait for the next chapter to drop and see the battle between Kid and Apoo. Yeah, I don't think he's done with Apoo with just that. So it will be getting really exciting from now onwards. Hopefully Oda doesn't skip through this fight to the other side. Fingers crossed.